Hey everyone, welcome back to Epicenter Garage. Today is going to be a quick little recap on my adventure and or my trip to vintage racing at Road America. I had an amazing time, got a chance to see a lot of cool race cars, a lot of cool street cars. Now my race car itself, the 74 RSR that you guys watched in a previous episode, hopefully you guys watched that, where we did the race prep, went through the whole process and took you through that whole ordeal. Yeah, the car didn't fare too well. And well, let's just cut to the chase. Let's go on over. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. So the trip going up went fantastic, had a great time, made it up to the track. I did end up going ahead and signing up or doing the Thursday test day. So basically what that means is we get to go out on the track, I want to say maybe up to 3 or 4 times. That went really well, so I got a chance to go out, and of course I ran it on the tires you see on it now, which are way old and hard, so that made it pretty fun. A little bit slick out there, but it was certainly interesting. Friday morning, woke up, beautiful day, ready, and I was all ready for the first qualifying race. Now there's 3 qualifying races, and we were supposed to run 2 of them on Friday, so woke up, and I was super pumped. Got my race suit on, got in the car, and I think this was right around 8:30 in the morning. Headed out, got out on the track. Now the first 2 laps usually take kind of, pretty easy. So just kind of sorting the car out, and granted, and still I was running on, not very good tires, pretty old tires. Second lap, boom. I'm going to put the hammer down, run a pretty decent time on these tires, because tires at Road America, brand new tires, that can be 3 or 4 seconds per lap. The hammer down, coming out of turn 14, got a clean corner in behind a GT3 Cup car, which they are faster than this old dog here. But I was going to get that pulled up that main straightaway, and as soon as I crested the top of the main straightaway, the motor just fell on its face, and I was like, what in the world? It's pretty rare. I haven't blown too many engines up, and so came around turn 3. The noise started getting worse and worse and just had no power whatsoever. Came off at turn 5, pulled in the pitch, shut it off, and I was just, I was devastated, because just my gut feeling told me, I was like, Brian, your weekend is over. The RSR is done. So slowly got out of the car, put it up on jack stands, crawled underneath, pulled the headers off, tried to look as best I could there at the track. You know what it's like working on a race car at the track on concrete. Obviously it's not like working on a shop. Couldn't really see anything. So needless to say, I was pretty disappointed. My whole weekend was shot, and I felt bad. Cars are inanimate objects, but for whatever reason, you kind of connect with the car. So I felt bad for my car. I didn't get a chance to go out there and run the whole weekend, but it is what it is. I still had a fantastic time, because anytime I'm around race cars and street cars and driving through the parking lots and looking at all the different cars, you can't beat that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to put this thing up on the lift, and I literally just pulled it out of the trailer, pulled the exhaust down out of the top of the trailer. We're going to put this car on the lift and try to figure out exactly what went wrong. So let's get going. All right, well, we got the car up on the lift. As you guys can see here, I've already, at the track, I went ahead and pulled all the plug wires, and I actually pulled all of the spark plugs as well, because I wanted to manually crank the motor over just to see what's going on. And sure enough, it will crank over a certain amount and then it binds, which that's never good. So as I haven't got a chance at the track, I really was not able to crawl under this too well to be able to see up inside the exhaust here. And as I'm looking up in here, it's got a lot of carbon. Of course, this engine has nearly 100 hours on it. And I can tell here, you know, it's run pretty rich. So there's quite a bit of carbon buildup. Yeah, something's going on here. So what you've got here, you've got in a 911 engine, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And number 2 here, that ain't looking so hot. As you can see here, and we'll be able to show you here, good carbon buildup here, good carbon buildup here. This looks like it was run really, really hot. All these 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 look all relatively the same. I mean, they don't look amazing, but the culprit is number 2 here. The valve guide, holy smokes. Now that's something I haven't seen before, is the valve guide looks like it has moved. Man, that's kind of an eye-opener. All right, so here we have the headers. The nice thing about this specific exhaust system I have on this car is you don't have to take, well, granted, I have pretty much the entire exhaust system off, but each header or each pipe is an individual pipe, so I can pull them off individually, which is really, really nice. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and this is pretty much telling us what we already saw up there. So as you'll be able to see down these pipes, you know, we got nice, I don't want to say nice black, you know, residue in 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but definitely in number 2, this one is really, really white. And I think, so that is definitely our culprit. All right, now that we've looked at the exhaust and we think it's cylinder number 2, or at least the exhaust valve in number 2, I'm also going to go ahead and pull the valve covers off, the top and the bottom. Specifically, I want to look in the bottom where the exhaust valves are, just to kind of take a look at the cams, all that kind of stuff, and see, you know, if we can see anything in there, especially any kind of residue, any metal, those types of things. So I'm going to pull the passenger side off first. And again, I have to keep reminding myself, you know, this engine has 100 race hours on it, and that's probably at least 100 hours of 6,000 RPM and above. So I mean, what can you expect? You know, am I disappointed? Yes, but at the same time, I got to keep telling myself, I'm like, Brian, you know, I've had this engine in this car for a long, long time. You know, I've had to replace clutches and stuff, but this engine has been dead nuts reliable. It's been a really, really good engine. So I can't complain. I'm trying to cheer myself up here, if you guys have noticed that. And, you know, granted, and it's interesting too. I mean, I really want to find out like what went wrong, kind of investigate, because it's always different. It's all, you know, I've had engine issues and things like that, and they're always different. And not to say it's fun, because it never is, but it's interesting. We'll put it at that. All right, now this is going to leak oil. The top, when you pull the top valve covers off, you don't get too much oil leak, but on these, on the bottom ones, because obviously the oil runs down, and I don't see, I mean, that's good, no. Is that a metal part? Well, I've got a little bit of a metal part you can see right here on my finger. So that can't be good. I don't see anything else in here, but that's not a good sign. Oh man, I'm looking for any kind of metal, which we already found. I know I'm going to have to pull this engine out, get it sent out. I won't do an engine rebuild on this myself, because there's people out there that can do it much better, and I know I always say that, but it's very true. we're going to send it out to Gary Meyer in Utah. He's the gentleman that built this engine for me, and we'll send that back out to him. But it's certainly getting interesting. Holy cow. Sounds like we're at church. Church bells are ringing. Oh, she's starting to leak here. Hold on. All right, here we go. Now this should be pretty interesting to see what we have going on here. Nothing, well, see that right there? That right there is valve guide. If I don't find any more metal in my, is it better? Probably not. I mean, once you find metal in your engine, there's metal in your engine. But the type of metal that I'm seeing or found is definitely valve guide. Valves are made of different materials all the way, even titanium, but they have to slide in and out. And so what happened here is, I believe, a valve broke, and so it started shoving. Noticing that this is almost like a shaving. It's almost like it was kind of shaving it as it went in and out. But one thing I did notice too is on number 3, it mushroomed out. So the valve guide gets pressed in, and it kind of started to mushroom out, which means that valve is coming in. I'll show my, the valve's coming in, actually making contact. The top of the valve is making contact with that guide, and it's mushrooming out because valves kind of do this. So what's happening is it's coming down, it's hitting it, and it's actually mushrooming it out, which that's not good. The cams actually look really good. There's really not any wear on these cams, on the cam lobes. There's no wear. Well, it is what it is. So what we've got to do is we'll end up pulling the top covers off, taking a glance in there. We're going to drain all the fluids. If you guys caught the previous episode, there's lots of places we have to drain fluids out of here. So we're going to drain it out here. I've got a line that actually runs inside the car that will actually even, well, there's a drain right there that'll end up draining. And then the very front of the oil cooler, I'll end up draining it at the base of that oil cooler, because we really want to get all the fluids out of the engine. And then we're going to really look at a lot of those fluids as well. You can send your fluids or your engine oil out for testing to see, what type of metal is in the engine, but that's, we know there's metal in the engines, which that's okay. I've had a lot of fun with it, and it is what it is. It wasn't going to last forever, and it actually lasted a long, long time. You guys have heard me say this before, but this engine, I can pull this engine out in no time. I'm not trying to brag or anything, because there's basically 4 bolts. You have to undo some connectors, undo your exhaust. Well, actually, I don't even have to undo this exhaust, because it's not even going to hit right here. It'll drop straight down. Put my card underneath. I'll actually set the engine or set the whole transmission. The transmission and the engine come out at the same time as one unit, just like I think I maybe explained that to you on the 930 Turbo. And we'll undo the shafts right here, and undo the fuel lines, undo the clutch line, undo the oil lines, as I get myself all nasty here, and just drop the motor, and it will be on a cart, and we'll end up building. Actually, no, I actually have a crate for another engine I have. We'll actually build a little mount for this and send it off to Gary, and in probably 2 months, fresh motor. We'll put it back in here and go from there, and hopefully the next one will last another 100 hours, maybe even more than that, so we'll see. Now, valve guides are not made out of magnetic material, so that wouldn't show up on here, but any other metal would. And the drain plug is clean, so there is no metal on the magnet in the drain plug. So that, if there could be a bright side to things, that certainly is. Oh, and speaking of bright things, as we're going to let this thing drain, so although my car broke, my 911, I did get first place at Road America. And by first place, not racing, but, oh, it's right here. Boom, check that out, which is pretty stinking cool. So this is the Got first place in the sports car concours at Road America. I'm not a car show guy, so I don't enter cars in car shows. I'm not that type that sits in my lawn chair in front of my Mustang and you know, sits around all day. I'd rather be out driving. So to enter a car show is super, super rare for me. And I was talked into it. So I took my 1980 Lamborghini LP400 S2 Countach to Road America, as a lot of times, as you guys, I think I've mentioned before, a lot of times I take two cars up, but this year I did not. I just took the 911 up because that car has been so reliable up until this point. So I want to take a street car up so my wife and my son, we can actually drive around. And this really nice couple stopped us and said, hey, you know, we love your car. You need to enter it in the car show tonight. Or yeah, it was that night. It was Friday or Saturday. You need to enter it in Saturday's show. And I was like, well, I'm not really a car show kind of guy. They're like, no. You need to enter. And they were huge Porsche fanatics. They had some really cool Porsches. We ended up going over the house and seeing their cars, which is amazing. But they were like, no, you need to enter it. Sure enough, we entered it. I really, really like this car, and it's a special car. I think in this color, which is called Rain Colorado, they built, oh man, maybe 3, maybe 4. I'm not sure exactly how many. But this car, I mean, it's a pretty rare. And as I walked down and saw some of the cars that I would be competing against, I was like, there's no stinking way. There was another red Countach down there that was absolutely gorgeous. I think in better shape than this one. And just some absolutely spectacular cars, some Ferraris that were in this group. So I thought there is no chance of us walking away with a trophy or just even any kind of mentionable any kind of award at all, but sure enough, they called our name and we went up and won, and that was absolutely, I mean, that was certainly a highlight. It was awesome to win at Road America, so once again, it kind of made the whole weekend kind of come together for me. We'll get this up on the lip eventually, and I'll kind of tell you a longer story on how I bought this car and basically take you through this car. So I think the oil is finished changing, and so we're going to break the AN fitting on the front, pull it off, drain the oil from the front oil cooler. So unfortunately, we're not going to get a chance to pull the engine out today because my engine cradle is tied up with the 930 turbo, but we will. We're going to get this thing pulled out eventually later on, and I'll get this thing shipped off to Gary, and he'll get the engine rebuilt, but we'll certainly keep you updated on any of the progress that goes on. But once again, really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you again next episode.